Welcome everyone. My name's Annette Harris. Welcome to my channel. I'm an accredited financial counselor and also the founder of Harris Financial Coaching. And yes, we're doing my hair today, but we're also fixing up your finances because a glow up should happen with your wallet and your head as well. So drop your money questions in the chat about budgeting, debt, credit, retirement, anything goes. And we're going to have fun together today. So we're going to cover a couple topics, but we'll get started with, a couple of people have asked me, Annette, how did you get started? So I want to tell you a little bit about my story as we work and navigate getting my hair care together. So I used to be in a place where I was frustrated. I was juggling bills and feeling like I'd never get ahead. That's why I started helping people take control of their money because I've been there. So for me, I'm up in a blended family. So it's a family of seven actually, so five total children, and me and my husband. All of the children did not live with us, but we are a blended family. So we had to figure out how to manage finances together. I know some of you may have child support that you have to pay, you have a car note, you have your mortgage, your rent, whatever that is. And I've been there as well. So that's why I started my business. It took me a while to become debt free, and that's my story. Just initially, that's how I started my business, because I was like, okay, I got rid of all of my debt. How can I educate others like you on how they can eliminate debt or even just reduce debt? Because debt free should not always be the goal. It should be something that you're striving for, to reduce the debt that you have and to manage it so that in the future it's not something that is keeping you awake at night. So I've had that financial win of paying off all of our debt. We had 3 vehicles, we had a mortgage, we had credit card bills, and I was able to win by paying that down. So I want to note down in the chat, what's one financial win that you've had lately, whether or not it's big or it's small? What's that financial win that you've had? For me, it's been continuing to manage my finances and find different ways that I can save money and control my spending. I've found different ways of talking to a financial advisor, and I'm like, okay, how can I manage this a little bit better? I'm not an expert by no means in investing. My main focus is budgeting, retirement, savings, and just helping you get from where you are today and where you want to be. So that was my financial win, was coming to terms that I needed assistance with managing my finances. Another financial win that I want to talk about with one of my clients is they've been trying to understand where all of their money goes. And that's a story that I hear all the time. Annette, where is all my money going? I get paid a regular paycheck and we have money, like we're comfortable. It's not like we don't make enough, but when it comes to managing our finances, at the end of the month, we don't know where that money's gone. We don't have money in savings, and we have overdraft fees that are being taken out of our account because we're just not managing it appropriately. So that's one of the biggest struggles that, my clients have, and maybe even you as well, with managing your finances, is at the end of the month, where's all the money gone? You've worked hard to get earn the salary that you have, And you want to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, but also save for the future. My mother-in-law has always told me that at the end of the day, it's going to be you and your husband that's within the home with each other. The kids are going to be gone, and it's just going to be you two. And a lot of individuals say, well, I want my kids to be happy, so we go out to eat a lot. And you'd be surprised that eating out at a restaurant is the biggest expense that I see my clients have. I had one individual, and she sent me all of her finances for the last 3 months, and we're looking at where she's spending all of her money. And I said, let's go with Heather. I said, Heather, how much do you think you spent on eating out at a restaurant over the last month? She was like, oh, I may have spent like $500 eating out at the restaurants. And for me, that's a lot, because it's just her and maybe 2 other people in the household. And I said, in all actuality, what you spent on eating out at the restaurant was $1,500. And she was floored, because you may spend $50 to $75, but if you do that over a continual time period, then it's going to add up, and it adds up quickly. And at the end of the day, you're like, where did my money go? And the food, it may have tasted really good at that point in time as well, but then it's gone. Like when you eat out at a restaurant, tell me, do you typically have leftovers? Because she's like, oh no, it's just like one meal we have, and that's about it. So you don't have leftovers, and you spend over $100 and you have nothing to show for it. So let me ask you this, like, when it comes to, say it's $100, you go out to eat, you spend $100. Equate that into how much you earn an hour. How long did it take for you to earn that $100 that you're spending on eating out at a restaurant? And then how long does it take for you to consume that food as well? It probably took you less than an hour to consume it, but it took you 4 hours to earn that. And again, like I said, at the end of the day, you got nothing to show for it because you consumed the food that you purchased. So just be very mindful of that. And these are just the little things when I'm working with my clients to say, hey, this is something that you need to be mindful of and watch out for when it comes to managing your finances. Little things add up, and that's why I am here to help you navigate that. Now, I want to talk about budget basics next. So there's a quick tip. Some of you may know it. It's the 50-30-20 rule that you can use as a starting point. Now, that's not budgeting law, but it is, something that you can use to help you manage your finances. So what's the 50-30-20 rule? 50% is needs, 30% is wants. So that could be Hulu. For example, you don't need Hulu to live. That's just something that is entertainment for us, and it's a nice to have. So 30% of your income towards needs, and then the other 20% of your monthly income is your savings or your debt payments. So if you use the 50-30-20 rule, you'll be able to have money set aside for your needs, wants, and savings and debt. Now, like I said, that's not law, but it will help you manage your finances a little better. Now, what's my personal favorite? So my personal favorite is actually zero-based budgeting. So that means that you give every dollar a job before the month starts. So I manage my finances. Typically I sit down and manage what I've spent every Saturday morning. I give it like 30 minutes just to make sure all of my credit cards are paid off, because I use them for all of our bills on a monthly basis, but I also pay them off before they're due. So I do not carry a balance at all. So with zero-based budgeting, you manage your finances before you actually earn that income. So if all your bills are due on the first of the month, I kind of take a look at my finances on the 25th. Say, okay, this is all the bills that are getting ready to come out on the first of the month. Say it's September or whatever. So August 30th, let's sit down and see everything that's going to be leaving our checking account. And I give all that income something to do, basically. So say I made $5,000, I would go ahead and put $1,000 towards my rent or mortgage, $300 towards utilities, $200 towards groceries, $200 to $300, whatever you estimate that you're going to spend on groceries. And then any debt payment. So if you have any credit card loans, anything like that, you allocate that on your check register, Excel spreadsheet, budgeting app, whatever you're using. And then when you have everything accounted for, all your needs, all your wants for the month, then if there's any money remaining, you can put that towards additional debt, or you can just put it in your savings account. The goal is for you to only spend what you need to spend and to increase the amount that you have in savings, and have every dollar that you earn on a monthly basis have a job. So that's how I found that, okay, if there's some time where I'm in a financial bind, I have an emergency situation, because I've given every dollar a job, and especially allocated some towards savings, that when, say, my AC goes out because I'm in Florida, I don't have to go and borrow that. I have that money on hand that I can use to pull out of my savings account in those emergency situations. So how do you track your expenses? Do you use an app? Do you use a spreadsheet? Or do you use pen and paper? I've tried the app before, like You Need a Budget and Mint, when Mint was around, and it just didn't work for me. It wasn't something that I could keep up with. My bills didn't get paid. It didn't deduct my bills when I paid them, because I typically future date them. So if today's, the 9th, I'm going to future date that for the 15th. So it didn't give me an accurate record. So I wasn't a fan of apps, but some may be. And then pen and paper, that's something I used when I was a little bit younger to kind of help me with the calculations of managing my finances. And then once I got older, I started using a spreadsheet. So I do have a video that's linked. It's one of my videos that if you search personal budgeting app, so personal budgeting spreadsheet, so you could definitely take a look at the personal budgeting spreadsheet video. It's very intuitive. It has calculation formulas already in it. All you have to do is add in your monthly income and in your spending. And then that can help you understand where you're spending your money and where you need to make adjustments. And then, like I said, so those are the three things. So how do you track your spending? An app, a spreadsheet, or pen and paper? What's your preference? So now let's look, okay, hair break. So again, I started this 15 minutes ago. I have arthritis in my hands, so I'm hoping that I can get all of this done and not have to take a break. So just doing a little 2-strand twist. And for me too, I am so cheap money. Frugal, I would say. So I have this Talia Waleed tight hold. And I've had it for a while because I haven't done my hair on my own in a while. I typically go to a hairdresser. So I was using Talia Waleed. It's almost empty. So then I was like, I really don't want to spend any more money on hair product. So I also have Cream of Nature Pure Honey Twisting Cream. And then that one's almost gone too. So then I'm going to go with the Miel Twisting Souffle to finish it all off. So I'm just trying to take advantage of the things that I have at my fingertips and not spend any more money than I have to. a little bit about me. Now, let's talk about money mindset because your money mindset matters as well. So, one of my clients asked me, Annette, like when you get frustrated and you just like trying to understand like what am I doing all this for? Why am I trying to budget? It feels like it's an endless cycle of me not being able to achieve my goals. And she was like, how can I stay positive? Now, one of my very first YouTube videos was a money mindset video, so you'd have to go back in the trenches. And one of the things I told her was, just say, money doesn't control me. Money does not control me. I have goals. I am going to stick to my goals. And money does not drive my life. I will not let the past decisions that I made predict the future that I'm going to have with my finances. We are going to move forward. Like I said, your money mindset matters. And, it's like things like instead of saying, I can't save, try saying, I can't save. Let's try saying, I choose where my money goes. That shift is powerful. And with using the budgeting tracker, you'll be able to allocate where your money actually does go. So, what's your biggest money mindset challenge that you have? For me, sometimes it's over saving. Like sometimes I'll save too much or I don't want to spend money. So I was in the store with my mother-in-law and I really wanted this blanket. It was just kind of like a throw blanket. And it was during the holiday time and it was on sale. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to spend that money on it. And she was like, Annette, like, you work hard for your money. Like, treat yourself. Like, if you come back later to try and get this blanket, it's not going to be there. She was like, but you need to treat yourself. But in that day I did. I treated myself, and I treated myself within reason because I was like, I rarely spend money. What am I doing? Like, am I saving all my money for my kids? I'm saving a portion for them. But, I worked hard for it and I want to reward myself. So I have to get out of that mindset of being overly frugal when it comes to making purchases and to also just reward myself. So I did have to, take a step back and, come to terms with that I am overly frugal at times and that I probably need to make some changes. So again, that's a work in progress. And we just all have to remind ourselves, like, don't be too critical on yourself. Treat yourself. When you do something right with your finances, treat yourself. And it doesn't have to be expensive. You could go out to an ice cream shop. You could take some time to read a book. One of my favorite books now, favorite books apps is Libby. I used to have Audible, but I found I was very limited in how many books. First, I just didn't want to spend the money. I'm sorry. Let me just be honest. I didn't want to spend the money on Audible. So I was limited in how many books I could read or listen to for the month because I only had my one little credit. So I use Libby now. So with Libby, that's how I reward myself at the end of the week or at the end of the day when I've accomplished a goal or worked towards taking a step towards accomplishing a goal. I listen to my book. So rewarding yourself does not have to be expensive. It could be taking a walk in the park, whatever that is. So definitely, break that mindset that you have of being in that vicious cycle of not being able to achieve your financial goals. Now let's move on a little bit to debt payoff. So as you may know, there are two main debt payoff strategies. The first one is the snowball method, where you tackle your smallest debt first, or you use the avalanche method, where you tackle the debt with the highest interest first. You can also use a combination of that, where you can use the snowball with the smallest debt, and the avalanche method, where you're paying off the highest interest first, and then once it's paid off, you are adding in the minimum payment that you used for paying off that debt to pay off your next debt. So there's like a combination of that. So with me and my clients, I help them choose based on what keeps them motivated. Are you motivated by, tackling that debt, paying it off, getting rid of it, and saying that, oh, I've accomplished this. What's next? Or are you saying, I've accomplished paying off that high interest debt first, that one with that 33% interest rate? Does that motivate you? Or is a combination of them best for you? And what's going to be best for your goals and your financial future? So what do you think you'd stick with? Small wins or interest savings? For me, I use the snowball method. Actually, I did use the snowball method. So I looked at all of our credit cards that we had and all of our car loans that we had, and said, okay, how are we going to pay off this debt? So we had 2 vehicle payments, and one of the vehicle payments had a 0% interest rate. So luckily, credit was great. The economy was doing well. So the car dealer gave us a car loan with a 0% interest rate. So I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to pay off this car loan with the interest bearing one. So we paid that off. And then after we paid that off, my husband also had purchased a boat, because it was one of the things that he wanted. It was a dream. We took the money from the truck that we paid off and started putting that towards the outstanding balance on the boat. So we started paying, instead of, I think it was like $420 a month, we started paying $700 a month towards the boat. We didn't say, okay, this debt is paid off, what can we do with it? Can we go out to eat more, anything like that? We didn't do that. We said, how can we continue to pay down this debt so that we're not paying as much interest as we are? So we did that for maybe like 2 years, and we finally got the boat paid off. And then from there, like I said, we had 5 children total. There was also some child support that stopped having to be paid. So I said, okay, what can we do with this extra income that we have now that child support is no longer there? And mind you, at the same time, we were also saving money as well. So as we were paying down our debt, we took a portion of that to put towards the boat or towards our savings, so that we did continue to build our emergency fund, and then just our general savings that we have for the future. Basically, is our travel fund right now. And then once all of that debt was paid off, we said, okay, should we pay off our mortgage? Should we try to pay off our mortgage before that 30-year deadline? And we did. So we ended up tripling our mortgage payment. And how we did that was we paid the regular payment, and then I was able to add an additional payment that was principal only. So basically, we made our regular mortgage payment and then said, hey, okay, now that's paid off. Now put this on the principal. And when we did the principal only payment, we didn't have to pay any interest on it. So that was going towards that base loan that we had and not the principal. And that ended up allowing us to pay down our mortgage in 8.5 years. So we paid a 30-year mortgage off in 8.5 years by continuing to add payments to the principal only of our loan. So now you do have to be mindful of that, because some loans do have pre-penalty payments. So if you pay it off early, you suffer a penalty. So you definitely need to check with your mortgager to see if that's something that you would suffer a penalty if you pay your car loan off early, your mortgage loan off, any of your loans, if you pay it off early, if you're penalized for that. So it's important to understand that at the loan inception. So basically, when you sign on the dotted line for that loan, understanding whether or not there's a prepayment penalty. If you have extra funds and you want to pay it off early, you don't want to be penalized for that. So when it comes to the snowball or the avalanche method, which one do you think you'd stick with? Small wins or interest savings? For me, it was the interest. I know for our home mortgage, we ended up saving $130,000 in interest by paying it off way ahead of time. So, like I said, interest savings is definitely what I go for when it comes to paying off debt. Now, I have a common question. Should I pay off debt first or should I invest? And my short answer to that is, if the interest rate on debt is above 6%, tackle that before investing heavily. So you don't, currently right now, the average return you can get on an investment, depending on your risk profile, your risk tolerance, when it comes to investing, you may get like a 3 to 8% return on an investment. So if your interest rate on your outstanding debt is higher than that, you probably take a look at continuing to pay down your debt before investing heavily and putting all of your funds towards that. So I want to talk a little bit about quick wins as well. So there's 3 ways to find $50 to $100 per month instantly. Cancel your subscriptions, use a meal plan instead of takeout, and then call your internet provider and ask for a better rate. If you found $100 a month, what would you do with it? Because for me, we found over $200 a month when we canceled our DirecTV bill and moved over to Hulu. So definitely those digital streaming providers give you a better bang for your buck than having to pay for boxes in your household. So I'm almost halfway through my hair. So I do want to thank you for hanging out with me, because hair and money both look better when you put in that effort. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly tips. Grab my free budgeting template at harriswealthcoach.com. There's a link down below, and send me your questions for the next live. So I'll see you next time.